Welcome to the Explainer. All right, today we're going to talk about cardio, but we're not just going to go over the basic science. See, there's a whole other story hidden in here, a story about what you're often not told, and more importantly, why.
So, let's kick things off with a question that seems super simple on the surface. How does your body really get stronger? I mean, we all get that exercise works, but what's the actual nuts and bolts process happening inside you that makes you fitter?
To really get into that, we need to get on the same page about one key idea, and that is cardiovascular load. Now, the big word to focus on here is cumulative. Think of it like this. Cardio load isn't just about that one sprint or how many miles you log. No, it's the total bill of stress that your heart, your lungs, your entire system has to pay over the course of the whole workout. It's the intensity plus the duration all rolled into one.
So how does your body even deal with this? Well, it's pretty cool, actually. It's like flipping a master switch. When you're just chilling, your rest and digest system is running the show. But the second you start working out, bam, the fight or flight system takes over, cranks up your heart rate, and starts pumping that vital oxygen and energy out to your muscles.
Okay, so we're stressing the body, and the body is reacting. That's step one. But how do we get from just stress to actually becoming fitter? Well, that leads us right to one of the most fundamental rules in all of fitness, the principle of progression.
And this is where the real magic happens. It's a process called supercompensation, and it's awesome. Basically, you hit your body with a challenge, a tough workout. Then, when you rest, your body doesn't just patch things up to get back to where you started. No way. It builds itself back even stronger, thinking, all right, that was tough. I better be ready for it next time.
And the way we make this happen consistently is through something called progressive overload. It's a simple idea, really. To keep improving, you've got to keep making things just a little bit harder over time. And you've got four main dials you can turn. You can up the intensity, increase the duration, do it more often, or you can mess with the tempo by taking less rest.
Okay, I know what you might be thinking right about now. This is all good stuff, but it's kind of general, isn't it? You're waiting for the nitty-gritty, right? The actual numbers, the heart rate zones, the formulas, the step-by-step plan. Where is all that?
And that question, that's the key that unlocks the real story of this explainer. Because the fact that those details are missing, that's not an accident, it's on purpose. And that, my friends, is where our little mystery begins. So check this out. The main report we used for this explainer, it was basically gutted. All the really useful stuff, the specific models, the formulas, the stuff you can actually use, was blacked out, redacted. And the reason given? For commercial use.
So what on earth is commercial compliance? Well, it's a fancy legal term for a simple process, scrubbing a document of anything that might be owned by someone else, anything under copyright, so that what's left is safe to sell or use in a product.
Right, so what does this legal stuff have to do with you just trying to figure out how to get a good workout? A lot, actually. Let's dig into why this is such a big deal. When the sources for that original report were analyzed, the results were, well, they were staggering. A whopping 85% of the info was labeled high risk. That means it came from places with strict copyrights, like big companies or academic journals you have to pay for. And the amount of info that was clearly free for anyone to use? A tiny, tiny 2%. Just think about that imbalance.
And this really gets to the core of the problem. You see, pretty much everything created online, especially the really detailed scientific stuff, is born with a restrictive all rights reserves copyright slapped on it. It's the default. Meanwhile, the good stuff, the open access information that's meant to be shared and built upon, is just a tiny little fraction of the whole.
I mean, this quote from the legal review says it all. The report was a high-risk asset for commercial derivatization. Derivatization is just a complicated way of saying making something new out of it, like we're doing right now. So, because all that super useful, specific info was seen as a legal landmine, it had to go.
So why should you care about any of this? Because it directly affects you every time you look for information. It means the best, most detailed health info is often locked up as a corporate secret or hidden behind a crazy expensive university paywall. And all that free content you find, a lot of the time, it's vague on purpose. Not because it's better for beginners, but because it's legally safer. This creates a world where the knowledge you actually need is the hardest to get.
Which leaves us with one last, really important question to chew on. The next time you're online searching for some real actionable advice, and all you can find are these fuzzy, high-level principles, I want you to stop and ask yourself, what am I not being told here?
And maybe the bigger question is, why?